Welcome, everybody, to the Run Local podcast. This is the podcast where we interview entrepreneurs, athletes, activists. We might even have one who covers a lot of those bases in this podcast. And with us today is Adidas athlete, track and field pro runner, Nikki Hiltz. Nikki, welcome to the Run Local podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
One thing we love to do is have our podcast hosts kind of introduce themselves in the way they see themselves. Like, how would you, maybe it's cocktail party. What do you do, Nikki? Who are you?
My name is Nikki Hiltz. I am a professional runner for Adidas, and I turned pro in 2018, and I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, and I feel like that was my whole goal my whole life, was to run professionally. And then I kind of can't believe I've been living my dream for 2 years, but here I am. And I think, within the past year, I've kind of had new goals and dreams, and that's how life works. You just get inspired by new things. And I've kind of started to be more outspoken and become kind of an advocate for my other part of my identity, other than the runner, which is, the LGBTQ athlete. So, I feel like I am a runner, but I'm also a lot of other things. And I'm try to kind of have not be tied down by one identity
Yeah,
or yeah. So I guess
that's perfect.
because
No, and
that's who I
that's
am.
why we have our guests intro themselves, because sometimes you're like, oh, this is how I see you. Like, you could be on a
Yeah,
podcast that's LGBTQ like focus, and then they focus on that part, or a running podcast. And frankly, we are neither. I like to think of it as almost more of like culture around run, to in a way.
yes,
Like, what are all the things that go on the plate at the on the table that's not running? Running could be the main course, but I want to know like all the things that kind of like intercede with it,
yeah,
um, which is cool. And I've been fortunate enough to watch you from afar since you were like in high school. So for the rest of the people who are listening in, one of my business partners is Scott McConville, who was one of Nikki's coaches in high school, if not an assistant coach, along with Coach Dan Gruber, who's a good friend of mine. I'm based in Santa Cruz, California. So for me, it's been a slow like introduction to you, or like,
yeah,
oh, we can't wait for this weekend. Nikki's at the state meet, or she's going for this. And so it's cool that lives of the coaches get kind of tied into their athletes. But
yeah.
like, like, how are you doing? Well, I'm doing fine. Nikki almost won state this weekend, or what, like,
Right, right.
to an extent. But let's go back a little bit to that high school, like your high school career in Aptos, California. Like, what stands out to you from that experience?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things that stand out, but I think
Other than the apple that I heard was thrown at some dude's head.
oh wow, we're getting right into it. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I don't know, I feel like high school is just where I like fell in love with running, and I think it was due to a part of like the coaches that I had in my life, like Scotty and Gruber, and just the team that they kind of fostered. I just remember like going for runs and icing marks with like my five best friends, during cross season,
Yeah.
and we would do the work, we'd run on the trails and get the 8 miles in, but we'd also definitely have fun along the way. Like we would chuck these giant like tree branches off of off, off the bridge and like see how long it takes to hit the river, and just
Oh, that's
Gruber would always
awesome.
yell at us. But no, I mean, I think what stands out most is just the team camaraderie that was like
Hmm.
fostered at Aptos. But yeah, definitely I was a little shit, and sophomore year I threw an apple at this girl, and Aptos High School, there was kind of a history of like food fights that got really bad
I
during
didn't
like the
know that.
early 2000s. Yeah, so then they had a policy like as soon as you throw food, like you're instantly suspended. So
Yeah.
I actually ended up getting suspended sophomore year from high school because at
Oh,
track practice I threw an apple. And
you're a
the funny
bad
part,
girl.
no, but the funny part is I threw it at her because she was talking while Scotty was talking. I was like, "Hey, listen up. Like that's my coach talking." And I just like got so frustrated, I just threw
Yeah.
the apple.
Oh, you're the
So,
muscle. You're the enforcer.
yeah.
Coach Scotty's talking. I need everyone to listen.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly. So
That's cool. So really what I took away from that is coaches, big influences too, is that you guys just love to throw things, whether if it's sticks over bridges, and
right.
then also take and also apples at disruptors of
Yeah,
practice. But yeah, high school was influential.
definitely.
Um, where do you go from Aptos High?
So I just remember I just wanted to get better every year in high school, and my sophomore year, I was third at the state meet, and I had ran 4:43, and that was
Wow.
just kind of a pivotal moment in my high school career because it was all of a sudden it was like, oh, I can go to college, like I can get my college paid for. And it was just kind of like
Cha-ching.
opened so many doors and opportunities. And so then my junior year, I came back, and I wanted to be better than third. And so the two girls that had beaten me were both seniors, so I was kind of like favored to win, and I kind of liked that
Hmm.
pressure. And then yeah, I won my junior year and ran 4:42, so I got second faster and two places better.
Wow.
So yeah, and
That's
then
big.
to have a big junior year, yeah, to have my best year of high school be my junior year was definitely huge. Because then that fall I started going on recruiting visits and talking to colleges, and I think my dream was to go to Oregon. It was kind of like the school to go to. And I watched like Steve Prefontaine and like Without
Yeah,
Limits, all those movies, and I was just obsessed with the
totally.
idea that like I could do that.
Oh, it's such a culture, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and to wear that O on the chest too. And there's
Yeah,
just legends that have been there. Who wouldn't
yeah.
take that chance? Yeah.
So right, so when Oregon was all of a sudden in the mix, I think it was just kind of over for all the other schools.
Yeah.
And so I signed senior year, and then I went to the University of Oregon. And it when I got there, it was I got injured my senior year of high school. And then when I got to Oregon, I kind of instantly got injured again. So it's kind of back-to-back years
Hmm.
of injury and injury. And I was like, kind of like, am I ever going to get back to like what I was, junior, freshman through junior year of high school? And it was just kind of this
Yep.
Oregon really wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I feel like I kind of went there
Mm.
for the wrong reasons. I just went there because I wanted the gear, and I wanted to, Hayward Field to be my home, and I wanted like, yeah, to wear the O on my chest and be the hero.
Right.
But it's kind of like the people make the place, and I don't really think I was vibing well with the group that was there at the time. And it was raining a lot, and I was like, where's the sun? uh, and I don't know. So I spent 2 years at Oregon. My freshman year, I redshirted the whole year just because of my injury.
Hmm.
And I remember after that freshman year, I really wanted to transfer. I was like, I just remember calling my parents and being like, I don't like it here. Like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And they gave really good advice.
Yep.
They're like, they're like, I know it's not what you wanted it to be, but you need to give it 1 year of like actually racing in the uniform.
Yeah.
And
Versus just being hurt. Because
yeah,
sometimes everyone feels
exactly.
that way when they're hurt too.
Yeah.
So that's not bad advice.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, okay. And so I gave it one last shot, and I ended up having a really good sophomore year at Oregon. I made NCAA's indoors, and top eight were all American. And I made the final, which was 10 people. So all you had to do was be tougher than two people. And
Nice.
so I was exactly eighth place, scored one
Sweet.
point, got that All American honors.
Count it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then outdoor, I once again made the NCAA meet, and I made the final. And I kind of got spooked in the final, and got 10th. So was two away from being All American again. But
Mm.
it was really solid, I would say, like first year. And then my scholarship got reduced. And I was like, okay.
Yep.
And I think, that's not uncommon for Oregon. And it was just, to have such a good team, you kind of have to be moving money around
Yeah.
and putting it in different events and focuses. But I think for me, that was kind of the excuse that I needed to be like, okay, I'm done here.
Mm.
And so it's kind of crazy that I was talking recently to my teammates about this, but it's kind of crazy that you have to have an excuse sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like I'm unhappy isn't a good enough excuse, and
That's
it's like it
interesting.
should it should be.
Right.
Um, and so that was kind of that, and then I decided to transfer. And my favorite part about being at Oregon was being part of such a good team, and I think that was because of high school. Aptos High School was winning, the league title, and then we'd send a
Right.
good chunk of people to CCS, and then we'd send people to state, and it was kind of like I really liked that, being a part of something bigger, from early on. And then at Oregon, it was the same thing, right? We were like, we need points to win Pac-12s. We need to send as many
Hmm.
people to NCAA so we can score points and like try to be one of the teams that's holding a big trophy over our heads. So I think when I was transferring, I really wanted that. I wanted a school that was also
That's
going
cool.
for titles.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think that like comes back, and I've heard this in other athlete things before. Do you know Liam Boyle Pettit? He writes for,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
gosh, I don't even know.
That name
He's
is,
a really cool writer, and he's got all these like sub stories and pieces like that. But I feel like he told a similar story of like he transferred because of the team thing. He was like, we were even running fast. I think he went Georgetown to somewhere else, or that to
yeah,
Georgetown, thinking that's what he wanted. So he almost did the opposite. He like left a team and like went to somewhere where they didn't have the same thing, but he was almost chasing it because of the name of the
yeah,
school and chasing it because of the reputation and pieces like that. And I think that's a really good lesson. We were talking about before we even started the show about pulling out little nuggets, and that's one of them is like, why are you choosing this direction? And
yeah.
like making sure it's for the right reasons. And that's really cool. So that's a super bold move though, to go 2 years and you're at Oregon and you're at this place and you're like, well, no, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it definitely was a bold move. Definitely
Where do you go?
terrifying.
Yeah. Where do you go
So I couldn't transfer within the
from
conference,
there?
right? So I couldn't go to another
Right.
Pac-12 school. So that was kind of
Without
limiting.
losing eligibility, right? Or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I could have sat out a year, and lost, but I had already
Yeah.
sat out my whole freshman year, so
Right.
I wasn't really interested in doing that again. So, it was kind of like, okay, the South, the Midwest, the East Coast, like, where do you want to go? And I just kind of was like, Arkansas was just this powerhouse that was like beating Oregon, and I was like, well, I want to go there. I
Yeah.
want to go to the school that beats the school I was just at. So so it was just kind of this easy choice, and the head coach at Arkansas was also the distance coach, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
And they offered me a full ride, and it was kind of why I left, was for the money too. And I was like, okay, it all kind of checks all my boxes. And yeah. So then, I mean, it was in the South, and I'm from Santa Cruz. I went from
Yeah.
Santa
What a
Cruz,
culture shock. I
yeah,
can't
or
even
from
imagine.
Santa Cruz to Eugene, Oregon to Fayetteville, Arkansas. But
Pretty,
you
it's
know,
that classic, that old story,
yeah, yeah.
everyone.
but but I just remember, like, my good teammate in high school, Megan Morse, went to SMU, which is in Dallas, Texas, and everyone, when she was a senior, was like, yeah, I'm going to Dallas. Everyone was like, why would you go? And her response, I always loved it. She was like, it's 4 years of my life. I want to experience something else. And so I was like,
I
okay,
like that.
yeah. So I kind of took that advice too, and I was like, it's 3 years of my life. Why not experience like a different culture, and
Hmm.
educate myself, or try to understand why things are the way they are.
Yep.
And yeah, I feel like once I got there, I was just like kept getting like pleasantly surprised, because I think I had this like
Hmm.
picture of what it was going to look like, and then it was like, oh wait, it's actually really like beautiful here, and oh wow, the people are
That's
actually
cool.
like pretty chill. Yeah.
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 I love that. So you go to Arkansas and you're across the country, and then like, are you rolling? You've got 3 years of eligibility left. What are some highlights,
Yeah.
athletically,
Um,
before we get to that transition, that next one?
so I 2016 was my first year at Arkansas, and it
Hmm.
was probably the worst, like, worst year of my career, my running career.
Hmm.
Like, I had made it to indoor nationals the year before, to outdoor nationals the year before, and in 2016 I like wasn't doing any of that. I had a terrible cross season, and then indoors happened, and I actually ran fast indoors, but it just wasn't good enough to make that indoor team.
Yep.
And so then it was outdoors, and regionals is like the first round to get to nationals, and like I got bumped out the first round, and I was like, what's going on? A year before I was in the NCAA final, and now I can't even
Right.
make it out of the first round. And it was kind of this moment. I was like, did I just make a huge mistake? Like,
Mm,
was I gonna be a better athlete at Oregon? And I just like left, and it was just
yeah.
kind of scary. I was like, is this it? Like, are my best years behind me? It was really dramatic. I was like,
Yeah.
and I think it was also an Olympic year too, in 2016, so kind of everything is heightened
Yeah.
in the sport.
Hmm.
There's just a lot of pressure. There's all of a
Absolutely.
sudden the rest of the world cares about it. And I was like, my goal my whole life was to run professionally and try to make Olympic teams. And I was like, how am I supposed to make an Olympic team if I can't even make the trials? And it was very much this, like, I would say, a
Hmm.
low point in my career. But I think I just kind of told myself, like, this isn't your story. Like, this isn't where it ends. Like, I
Yeah.
know there's more in the tank, and there's like more to be proven. Um, and I just was like, I remember talking to Gruber and my high school coach, and he was like, sometimes it takes a year or two to adjust to new training. You just have to keep going. And
Yep.
he's like, Lance is a good coach. He knows what he's doing, and you just have to trust him. And so I think that really helped me get through that. Just knowing, like, this isn't how your story ends, and like
Yeah.
sometimes it just takes time and patience. And then that's literally all I needed. And then the next year, it kind of everything just started clicking. Like indoor 2017, so my second year now at Arkansas,
Hmm.
I made the indoor final again, and I got sixth, which was my best
Nice.
finish in
Yep.
NCAA's. And then I kind of took that momentum, like kept it going in the outdoors, and I P was just like PRing and PRing, and then I made it to NCAA's again, and then I made the final, and then I just remember being in the final, like, okay, any like times and names don't mean anything here, like just race.
Just
And
race.
yeah, and I ended up getting second, and by missing the title by 0.02 seconds, and that was just like, that
Mm,
was that was like, yeah, like kind of sad, but I think it was really motivating for me, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
next year, like, I want that win. And just kind of, it was like my kind of like high school again, I guess. Like, it was like,
Yeah.
okay, I have
Kind of like
one more
that
year.
sophomore to junior year of just
Yeah,
trying to improve, or it
right,
left something on the table so you can get back after it to an extent.
definitely. And
Um,
then,
it
yeah,
can we pause there and
yeah,
like, can you parallel path your journey as an LGBTQ athlete like in those same times?
yeah,
Was there anything like when you came out to it being, was it Oregon? Was it Arkansas? Was it like, did it relieve you of any pressure or stress or add pressure and stress? Like, can you ever identify times of when you were running well and when you were running poorly
yeah,
with that same journey?
yeah, definitely. So in 2016, that summer where like I, had just missed out on nationals, and I was questioning if I had made the right choice or not. That was actually the
Hmm.
summer that I came out to my parents, and it was kind of like I was in this low point, and I was like, okay, well, here's something I could do. Like, and so I just told them, and I feel like that kind of like got me, like, they were just like the way they responded, and like just so like supportive, and just very like, we love you, and like we're so grateful that like you felt comfortable enough to like share that with
Hmm.
us, was kind of, I think, the like push start that I needed to be like, okay. And then also having those conversations with Gruber about like, you just need to be patient. It was just kind of this like, kind of flip the switch, I guess, from being like get really down on myself to like, okay, like
Yeah.
there's hope. And then in 2017, when the next year when I started, you know, kicking ass, I guess, like that
Yeah.
was when I had come out to the world. I was like started telling teammates, and posting about my girlfriend on Instagram, and people were
That's
like
cool.
commenting like, oh, it's such a cute couple, or like, this is so inspiring, and then it just like was kind of riding this momentum of like positivity, I guess.
That's cool. It also
Yeah,
feels like ownership too. Like
yeah, definitely.
you're growing up, you're like 20 years old, and you're telling the world who you are, and you're also making decisions, it feels like, to like go in the path that you want to go on that you're on
Right.
or something like that. So leaving Oregon, I'm gay, I'm fast, here, like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And so much of running is like if you're in a good place mentally, or like if you're happy,
Mm,
if you are, are comfortable with yourself, like it's gonna translate onto the track no matter what. Um, and
oh,
so
that's cool.
yeah, it was definitely this definitely really like special part of my career. And just like it was like a relief too, and like a weight being lifted. Like I don't have to hide who I am anymore. I can just run and be me. Was really, I think, also what kind of helped me get to that next level, to go from like getting eighth and sixth at NCAAs to like second and like zero point zero 0.02 away from a title was definitely like, yeah, really, really just something.
When
I
you're in a good
know.
place, you're just like firing on all cylinders. Or if you're in a good relationship, your work's going to be stronger, your creativity is going to be,
Yeah,
well, you know what? I don't know if if I can say that with complete truth. Because think of like all the troubled artists that are out there
I
that just
know.
create amazing.
Or like music, the
I
best music
know.
comes from like heartbreak and yeah.
Mm, yeah.
But
Okay,
I
so
don't
I'm not,
know.
but maybe like fit, but I would say physical activity for
In
sure.
sport, yeah, for sure, I
It's-
think.
Okay, you need to be in like, if you're in love, you can run super fast.
If
Is
you're in
that my
love.
takeaway?
Exactly. Sure, yeah.
All right.